Good morning, everyone. We are live. Today is Monday, Cinco de Mayo,
Oh,
which,
yeah, that's right.
yeah, it seems to be a bigger day in the United States than it's really in Mexico. But there is it is a historical holiday in Mexico. I think we make more of it than they do, though. Uh,
I think it's
but
just an excuse for people to get out and drink, kind of like St. Patrick's Day.
yeah, it seems to be very common to turn those holidays into drinking days.
Yep.
And it's 6 o'clock. This is going to be our new time for now on, and it will probably stick. Tell us where you're from, please, on the chat. I see some people here from Florida. I am in Florida, and Livia here is from Davenport. I used to work near that uh, over there. It's about an hour and 15 minutes from where I am. And we have, let's see, let's go over this quickly. We have Tom, Michael, Brian. They're usually here early. Sandra, Haley, uh, from Texas.
Ah,
Marcy, Steve, Amy, Brisket Boomers. I like that name. Tommy, Stevie, Paul, Livia, I mentioned, Sandra. Oh, from Massachusetts. Where are you in Massachusetts? And Butler. Um, and New Hampshire. I spent 12 years in the Northeast between uh, three, 3.5 years in Long Island and then in Massachusetts for 8 years. The longest years of my life because I don't like the cold. So
right.
that was about 9 months of winter. I was very high up in Massachusetts near the border with New Hampshire. I could be in New Hampshire within 15 minutes from my house.
Hmm.
Not my favorite. This is why I'm in Florida. I've been 29 years in Florida. Have lived the longest in Florida than any other place. All right. So this morning we have Carrie Kissner here. We're going to be talking to her and asking her questions. Uh, let's see. Oh, we have some questions already. I'll put them up in a moment. All right. And we're going to be giving uh, a grass-fed beef liver supplement from Kilt's Health. This morning is sponsored by Kilt's Health. Um, we're going to use the hashtag KISS because Carrie's last name is Kissner. And I also
And
like
Kiss is the greatest band in the world.
Ah, so growing up, you were a Kiss fan?
Oh, yes, I still am.
Okay.
I started liking them when I was 10 in 1976.
Okay. The name must have been a little bit of a help in being a fan, huh?
A little bit, well, people used to tease me and say that I picked a husband with the last name of Kiss on purpose, with the
And I see in the back of you have a Kiss poster, is it?
it's blinds over my window.
Oh,
It's a blind.
okay.
Hmm.
Well, this is a true fan. If you put blinds with
Yeah, let's see. Over here, there's a Kiss phone, telephone. That round thing is a phone.
okay.
And so, yeah, I've got lots of Kiss memorabilia on my shelf. So this is the office where I work. I work from home.
All right. So we have people from Chicago. I haven't, we
Oh,
used to
wow.
have frequently some people from Japan, which I haven't seen regularly lately. Panama City, that's in the Panhandle. Some people call that uh, South Alabama. All right. So, Carrie, let's
Yes.
let's start with you telling us about you. And obviously, we talk about carnivore a lot here. So,
Of course.
tell us how you got there. And but tell us first about you. Who's Carrie, and what do you do?
Well, let's see. Carrie is, as far as a profession goes, I'm a business intelligence specialist, so I'm a data person. Um, and so I'm a nerd. And when I started, I guess my story really goes back to 1984 when I was expecting my daughter. And I found out that I had gestational diabetes. And I've always been lean. So my story is probably different from a lot of people in that I really didn't have any health problems or weight problems, as a reason to go low carb and carnivore. But when I did have gestational diabetes, and I remember they were wanting me to gain weight, but then they were telling me, and of course, remember this was in the 80s, give up all the white foods, sugar, potatoes, pasta, rice, things like that. And so I remember thinking, well, what am I going to eat? And they told me meat and vegetables. So I did do that. And so then fast forward, my mother was diagnosed with diabetes. And this was about like about 20 years ago, she was diagnosed with it. And up until that point, she had been like fairly thin. She was active. She loved going to concerts and shows, which I get that from my parents. They loved live music and stuff. But I noticed that they didn't really tell people with diabetes to eat, to give up the white foods anymore. Instead, it was like eat what you want, and then you can just take insulin or in medication to offset that. And so she started gaining weight. Her health started getting worse. She ended up, toward the end, I mean, she was on 2 different kinds of insulin, and, she was overweight, and just, her health really suffered. She had congestive heart failure. But I noticed her decline back in about 2013-ish. And I remember Googling what did humans, I think it was something like, what did humans evolve to eat, or something like that. And I've got the Weston A. Price website. So I read that and I was like, oh, okay. So I started eating like paleo, because I didn't want my health to be like hers. I didn't want that decline. And my grandfather had diabetes, but it was controlled with diet too. But I just knew, I was like, okay, I don't want a future like that. So I really didn't have any health issues that precipitated it. It was more of a headed off at the pass kind of thing. So then it's just gradually, I discovered people like Dr. Michael Eads, Dr. Malcolm Kendrick. These were like all blogs more so. I really wasn't watching YouTube at that point. But I just, as I did more and more research, I just ended up kind of going lower and lower carb. And then in December of 22, a neighbor of mine, he worked for a food supply company, and he had given me a bunch of meat. And so I don't know, I guess just to make sure to eat the meat and not for it to go to waste, because I didn't have a lot of freezer space. I mean, I had given some of it to my daughter, but it was weird because I was like scrolling on YouTube, and then I kept seeing these carnivore videos coming up. And I was like, oh, wow. I watched one and I don't remember whose it was first, but I ended up kind of falling into this rabbit hole. But I was like, oh, wow, I guess I'm carnivore because I really wasn't eating any vegetables anymore. I was just eating, like, there was bacon, there was sausage, there was, ground beef, all this meat that I was eating up, so that it wouldn't go to waste. And so then I just sort of had fallen into carnivore. But what I had really noticed, I've always did have an issue with anxiety. The very first episode of it was when I was 21 years old, and it felt like I had lost control. It felt like I couldn't breathe. It felt like I was like I was freaking out, and it lasted for weeks. It would like ebb and flow, and it was terrible. It was horrible. And I had no clue as to what it was. It wasn't really publicized back then about like anxiety attacks and things like that. So I sort of suffered through that, but periodically I would get it. And as I went lower and lower carb, the anxiety went down. But then it's like with carnivore, it's gone. Like it's just not there anymore. So while my story is something like a lot of people, they get interest because people can see the difference in them,
Of
but
the way,
mine,
yeah.
I feel it.
All right.
So
And so, any other health issues that you've improved with carnivore diet?
well, I have a lot of energy. Like I said, I really didn't have any health issues. Like I didn't even have diabetes. It's just, I had gestational diabetes years ago, but then after that, I never had it. But when I started doing like low carb and then gradually into, keto and now carnivore, it's, I guess it's good that I don't have any health issues. I'm not on medication. I had a CAC test done a year ago and it's 0. So it was funny because I went outside of my doctor, like my doctor didn't order it. And
Okay.
I only really go to my doctor just for my physical. And so I go in for my physical and I take the paper, and I said, well, doc, I went and got a CAC score or CAC test. And he says, did I order that? And I said, no, but I was only going to tell him if it was good. So in other words, if it was bad, I wasn't going to say anything. So, but I gave him the paper and he says, well, you can't beat 0. So now they don't bring up statins anymore. He didn't nag me about it anyway. I'd been going to this same doctor for years and he didn't really nag me. I think it was checking off a box, but my cholesterol, my LDL had just went, especially with carnivore, it really went up. I mean, my LDL was like 260 just for my LDL alone. But my
And what?
HDL was 77 and my triglycerides were 76. So I had the 1-to-1 ratio for that.
Very
And my
good.
fasting
Very good.
insulin was 3.8. So, all of that was really good.
Very good. Let's take some questions here. We
Okay.
have thoughts on no salt on this way of eating. Stephenson and Amber O'Hearn don't salt their food. What do you think? Do you use a lot of salt or?
I don't ever add salt, really. Now, once in a while, I did have those Redmond's rock salt chunks.
Okay.
And once in a while, like I'll keep one like by my desk, and once in a while I'll maybe lick on that. It's like I get like a little bit of a craving for some salt, but I generally don't add salt to my food. So I just eat it as it is. So however it comes to me, if there's salt on it, I'll eat that. If there's not, then I don't. I've never added extra salt. Excuse me. But yeah, I don't add any.
All right. This is a hard question, probably.
Oh my gosh, it is.
What is Carrie's favorite Kiss song?
This is, I think my favorite one probably, and it's very obscure. It's called "Going Blind." It's on one. I believe it's on the very first Kiss album, if I remember correctly. It's just kind of a haunting song. It's not your traditional metal, but I love a God of Thunder in terms of like just one to rock out on. I love God of Thunder.
All right. Greg Styron. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. As a question, have a friend with gastroenteritis. Would carnivore be doable with this condition? You want to take a stab at that?
I believe it would, because for one thing, from what I understand by listening to all these doctors, meat is you digest meat better, so there's more. It's more nutrient dense, and so by the time you get to your intestines and all of that, it's like most of it's gone. By the time it travels, so that's why like a lot of people also think they're constipated because they don't poop as much as they normally do, as you would if you had a lot of fiber and stuff, because
Yeah.
your body uses it all up by the time it.
There is not as much residue, certainly. Everything is basically digested and absorbed. The meat doesn't stay in your intestines and rot like for
No,
many
it doesn't.
years many people have claimed. Uh, that it's an absolute lie, but people repeat it
Yep.
and people believe it. I have someone who I have been talking to some time ago, and she was saying, "Oh, I couldn't do that because all that meat is gonna rot in my intestine." Well, you know what rots? All the vegetables, all the more fiber there is, bigger your stools will be, right? Because all that is basically food that went through your intestines, but it didn't get absorbed, and it's the source of the smells of our bodily functions. Uh, when you go carnivore, most people report that their sweat doesn't smell. There's not the same body odor. There's not the same smell when you go number two, right?
Right.
I do have and I don't know if he's using the correct diagnosis because gastroenteritis implies an acute process. Usually, is an inflammation of the gastro, and enteritis is inflammation of any part of the intestines. And usually, you use the term gastroenteritis for an acute process. It can be a chronic process as well, but yeah, it's all due to inflammation, and it probably will be helped uh, by carnivore. Butter makes everything better.
It does.
Uh,
I agree with that. I do add butter to stuff.
I want to understand why carnivores salt their food. Uh, some people do it because it tastes better. Some
Hmm.
people do it because they do crave the electrolytes. Table salt is sodium chloride, right? A salt, by the way, is a positive and negatively charged molecule. So the term salt, when you study chemistry and biochemistry, biology, it means any two substances that are positive and negative that are bound together. But when we're talking about foods and the common term of salt, we're talking about sodium chloride. We need sodium, we need chloride. They're part of even the regular tests that we do in blood. We measure sodium and chloride, and we also need potassium, magnesium, calcium, and many others. Uh, and we've been salting food forever. So some people like it. Some other people actually crave it when, for some reason, they feel like having some salt. Do you have to salt your food? No, a lot of people don't. Uh,
Yeah, I've just never thought of adding salt to it. Now I know people, they will add salt no matter, like they don't even taste it first. It's almost like a habit with them, and they just add salt to it before they even eat.
Don't ask, wondering if people have gifted you with Hershey Kisses. I know you wouldn't need them, but with that name, I'm just saying.
They do. Yeah, they have. And I give them to my grandson, which is probably not the best thing to do, but is it to steer us away from sugar? So like
The
the
salt issue,
salt
I guess. I
could, but yeah, could
could
be.
be. I mean, it has flavor to some foods. The Bible talks about the salt of the earth and uh,
Hmm.
salt to taste. Yeah. So you said you're a technology person. What do you do for work?
So basically, I do data analysis. So I pull statistics from various uh, systems that we have to consolidate data, and a lot of it gets presented. I work I work for a governmental agency, so
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Don't have to mention the CIA or anything like that.
no, nothing like that.
Do you do any? How long has it been that you've been carnivore?
Actual carnivore, it's about close to 2.5 years now.
Okay. Me too. My carniversary is coming up June 29th. So we're already May. That means about 22 and a half months I've been carnivore. I have it so 670 some days right now, I think.
It just makes life easy. I am not a cook. I never have been.
Hmm. What
So
what is
it's
a
very
regular day of eating for you?
oh gosh, I eat bacon and eggs to break my fast, which is usually somewhere toward midday. I generally don't eat breakfast. Um, Sometimes I do. It kind of depends, but most of the time I don't. So it'll be like bacon and eggs for breakfast. Sometimes bacon, eggs, maybe a little bit of sausage. Then, like for my evening meal, a lot of times it's like burger patties, maybe sometimes with cheese, sometimes without. More bacon. I eat lots and lots of bacon. I love bacon. It's its own food group. Bacon is amazing. Makes everything better. Sometimes I will have a steak. Sometimes I'll eat like a ground beef power bowl, put eggs, um, ground beef, maybe sprinkle a little bit of cheese in there. I don't eat a lot of dairy. I do eat dairy, but it's not much. Sometimes I will have, like, for example, some full fat yogurt, but that's certainly not daily. So my meals are very simple. And since I live by myself now, both of my children are grown and gone. They have lives of their own, married and all that good stuff. So it's just me here. I don't even have a cat anymore. So yeah, so
I
it's just me. So I keep my meals very simple.
So I gave up on cheese and all dairy products except butter. Uh, as today is my fourth day doing that.
Ah,
I'm giving it a try. So no heavy whipping cream, no cheese. Uh, it is so good. So no cheese, no sour cream, no heavy whipping cream. I had given up on milk long time ago because I
hmm.
did notice my blood sugars will go up very quickly. Do you eat any lamb, Carrie?
I do eat lamb.
Okay.
I do.
How about goat?
I have had goat before, and it's fine, but it's just not something I eat regularly. I don't really, if I knew somebody that prepared goat, um, I mean, I guess well, I'm not going to say the first time, but I mean, I've eaten it several times. Like we had family friends who would dig a pit and they would like, put the goat in there and cook it that way. So I have eaten it, but it's just not something I have regularly.
How about other ruminant animals, uh, like any venison, elk,
Yeah,
bison?
venison. Yeah, I have a friend who deer hunts, and so they will pass along either deer meat like ground, you know, and I use that in. I have a chili recipe that's I can't remember now who I got it from, but anyway, it's a carnivore chili, so it's not. It does have a little bit of spices in it, but it's not. It doesn't have like veg and stuff in it, and it's really good. Um,
I make chili
so
myself. I usually, not everybody in the house is carnivore, so I still put a little bit of red kidney beans. Now I soak them for 2 days and boil them for 3 hours before I even put them with the chili. Uh, and if I make the chili that way, I don't eat it. But I made chili without the beans.
I
So
do. I make it without beans. Now, I do my Christmas Eve chili and I make 2 batches, one with beans and one without. But I can't do the beans. Oh, no, no, no. I can't do them.
Brian says, I thought all mammals needed salt, and we need it for our proper functioning, but we recycle a lot of what we have in our own body. So some people don't use salt frequently, and they live okay. Uh, our body is very efficient in keeping the sodium, and there is sodium chloride. All these electrolytes are present in our foods too, in small amounts. So if you're eating anything, you're eating what you need. uh, but some people like to salt their food more than others.
Mhm.
So Don says the Bible talks about herbs for healing as well. All
Mhm.
right. So ground beef chef, 6 months for me today. Congratulations.
Oh,
What part of the
I
South
am
are you from,
from the
Carrie? Northwest
greater
Alabama.
Nashville area. Yeah, from Nashville.
Okay.
And I was born and raised here.
Okay. Nashville, Tennessee. I think this was off camera. I was mentioning my son lived there for 2 years in Nashville. He was managing some properties.
Mhm.
What is some of the famous Kiss songs? Do any of the group have a similar last name?
Um, let's see. Some of the most famous ones are like Detroit Rock City. Beth was their big hit. It was a ballad, strangely enough, but It was a huge hit for them. Rock and Roll All Night was another hit. Calling Dr. Love. Then later they had Shandy, Sure Knows Something. They've had quite a few hits. I Was Made for Loving You. That was their disco era song, and that was like sacrilege when they came out with that because it kind of had a disco type beat to it. And a lot of the hardcore fans didn't like it. Oh, Iron Maiden. That's easy. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. That is a fabulous song. Fabulous. Yeah, and you see Eddie over there. I painted that in 1984. That's Eddie from Iron Maiden. Yep.
Cod livers are really good, I heard.
I like the taste of them. However, the texture gets me. That's what gets me. But I make myself eat cod livers about somewhere between once a week and once every other week, just kind of depending. And I can't remember the name of the brand off the top of my head that I order, but I get them off of Amazon, and they have the cod livers. The cod liver oil. They're soaked in their own oil, so I drink the oil too.
So this is
So
what
the
we're
taste
giving.
is good, but
This is what we're giving today. Hashtag Kiss grass-fed beef liver from Kills Health. And if you go to killshealth.com, you'll see our products there. We're giving one bottle of grass-fed beef liver. Okay. Hashtag Kiss, everybody, please. Let me stop sharing the screen. There we go.
yeah.
Good morning, Booby Goats. One of the most hilarious handles in YouTube. Bacon Girl. My husband calls me Bacon Girl. Mm.
Oh, bacon is the best.
A lot of people don't like beef liver specifically, uh, but they tolerate other types of livers. Yeah.
I've
If
never
I
had smoked cod liver. I just get I don't know. I guess there's ways that I could fix it, but I mean, it just comes in a can. And like I said, the taste is good. I really like the taste, but the texture, it's like slimy. I just make myself eat it real fast.
All right, we have a question here. Not losing much. I'm 90 days in. Decided to stop all dairy this week to see if I can drop a few pounds. Yeah, dairy happens to be one of those foods that, first of all, milk is for growing babies. Okay, that's a fact. It's not an opinion. It's a food that's designed for a baby to grow up to be a grown animal or human, well, animals also. And after a certain age, you really don't need milk. We keep drinking it. That's fine. If you tolerate it, it's fine. We actually lose a lot of the ability to digest food as we grow older. And that's why some people become lactose intolerant and all that. If you drink milk, you like it, it doesn't affect you, okay, you can do that. But do you need it? Definitely not, because once we grow, even humans, most babies, you know, I would say 5 might be an age where you really don't need to have milk. I mean, after you start eating solid foods, you really, many animals kick their young out uh, from latching on, and you don't really needed. It is a growth food, and yeah, you can tolerate it. It's fine, but it can be addictive. It is addictive on purpose, so the baby wants it. It
Mm-hmm.
has casomorphine, which is a morphine like, name is in there. Morphine like molecule is kind of addictive. It's a very small amount. It doesn't affect you negatively, but this is one of the reasons you might eat cheese or one milk, and then you might be craving it a little bit. It's meant to be somewhat addictive for the young baby. And it seems to be one of the foods that is very, when people are stalling on their weight or having sometimes problems with balancing the sugars, if they're eating cheese, sour cream, milk in any form, kefir, heavy whipping cream, uh, it may be contributing to your stall. So that's one of the first thing I would tell someone to stop and see if that makes a difference. So I've always had some of that in my diet. So last Friday, last Thursday was the last time. So since Friday, I've been without heavy whipping cream, with no cheese, no sour cream, and sometimes I will put sour cream on the steak as a
I've done that before.
yeah. Can you buy bacon without preservatives and without sugar? Yes, you can. You have to look for it. I Sam's never had this before. I eat beef bacon. I don't eat pork, and it's very hard to find beef bacon. And I
You can get
started
it at
finding,
Publix. Publix sells it.
yeah. So, but you have to be careful with the sugar
Mm-hmm.
uh, in it. Bacon, the typical bacon is cured. It involves using some sugar. There are some that are not with sugar. Um, and if you do have a problem with sugar and you're eating bacon, that's one of the things you want to check, see how it's affecting you. Okay. But it is a group food, like Carrie says, right? Mainly go by how you feel. There is a healing time, stay the course. Do you have any members of your family that are carnivores?
My brother is almost carnivore. I guess you could call him ketovore.
Okay.
So he started eating this way about a couple years ago. So it's good when I hang out with him. I don't have to worry about being tempted to eat things that I normally wouldn't eat because he eats the same way, pretty much. Like he'll have a little bit of veg, like if he like for example, like he could get a bunless burger and he'll eat the lettuce and tomato with it, but he's very low carb, and he's as tall and skinny as I am. You met him in Yuma.
I did. I did.
Yeah,
You're tall. He's taller than you.
he is. He's very tall and slim. He works. His job is very physical. He's very active, and so yeah. So combine that with eating, like almost no carbs, and he's just really slim.
CB is telling Dawn to keep it up. Don't get discouraged from the scale. You probably lost some fat, but added muscle and bone density to replace fat. Your body weight will optimize eventually with dedication. That is true. You need to be active for those things to happen, though. And I like to say be active. I'm not telling you to necessarily exercise, but we have to move and be active. And if you
Mhm.
do make a point to do exercises, concentrate on the muscle building exercises, the resistance exercises, more than just walking or running. Cardio is okay, but you want to build up the muscles. So,
Oh,
Booby
wow.
Goat, you're from Tennessee as well, huh? So
Fellow
how
Tennessean.
so how come you were not at Yuma? I didn't see you there.
Well, we might have. Maybe they didn't have booby goats as their name tag.
Mm, I think I would have recognized her.
The Grand Ole Opry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't been to the Opry in years, but yeah, I've been there several times and to the Ryman as well. Yeah, fairly near Dr. Berry. He's west of Nashville. I'm east of Nashville, but yeah, I can get there in a couple hours.
I am CB is in Tuscumbia.
Oh, Muscle Shoals, Alabama, right? Muscle Shoals.
Uh,
Love Gun. Yep. That was another one that was popular.
all right. We have a question. Did you notice any detox symptoms when you stopped eating vegetables and ate meat?
I really didn't, but I wasn't eating very many vegetables to begin with. Uh, Maybe I was eating something like broccoli with some cheese sauce on it, but a lot of times, so I had basically just like gradually decreased my carbs and everything to the point where I would say I was ketovore when I just kind of fell into carnivore. It was just kind of a happenstance. So I really didn't. Now I will say though that when I went keto, in retrospect, I had like a bit of a rash and stuff. And of course, I really didn't know that much about, but after reading about things, after the fact, I believe I had like a little bit of oxalate dumping after that. But I really didn't, going from like ketovore to carnivore, I didn't really have any symptoms.
Yeah, cod liver is the meat jello of carnivore.
It's just slimy. That's all I can say. It's like that goop stuff that kids play with. It's just ugh. The texture's terrible.
Do you eat it raw or you cook it?
I just eat it out of the can the way it comes. So
Okay.
I guess it's raw. I don't really know what they do to it. Um, but so the taste is really good. It's more of like a kind of a tuna type taste to me, with a bit of a wild taste to it, but it's not as livery as like beef liver and chicken liver. Even to me, tastes livery. And I have eaten it, but I don't. I like cod liver. I think the taste of cod liver is actually better than chicken liver, just personally. But like I said, it's just that texture. And I've heard people suggest maybe mixing it with tuna fish or something like that, but I haven't tried that. But I'm just thinking, well, all it'll do is just give me more. And so I'll just have that liver taste in with the tuna. So rather than eating more of it, I'll just hurry up and eat the cod livers that I'll be done with them.
I occasionally have liver. I started taking the liver supplements just 4 days ago. I made several changes effective last Friday, so that's one of the things. And we'll see. We'll see what
I'll have to
happens.
tell my brother about your liver supplements because he won't eat liver. He will not eat it. And I told him, I said, well, just you know, force yourself to eat some cod liver every other week or so. And he's like, no, I'm not eating that.
And some people don't eat organ meats and liver, and that's fine too. But particularly the liver is like your carnivore multivitamin.
Yeah, it is. You don't need near as many supplements when you eat it. So, like, I also eat sardines. Now, I love sardines, and I never would have thought, but a couple years ago when I first started my YouTube channel, I think that was my first or maybe my second video. I think I did my story first, telling how I got into carnivore and stuff. And then, but I filmed myself trying sardines for the first time. And I was pleasantly surprised. So I'll add hot sauce to them.
Yeah.
And I eat sardines a lot.
I add a little bit of hot sauce as well and butter to the sardines.
Hmm.
I've always liked sardines. The last time I had a bunch of sardines was doing a 3-day challenge. And after that, I didn't have sardines for 3 months. But
Yeah, got
uh,
a little tired of them.
I just had some sardines, what was it, Friday or Saturday? Catherine just had some liver last night.
Oh, bacon chips. Yeah.
All right, we have Doc. Can you tell us about your 10-day fasting experience? Uh, I was able to do 10 days. I don't know. This was unexpected, but actually, uh, for some reason, my blood sugars got worse after my 10-day experiment. We'll see uh, what happens
Hmm.
with that. I already don't produce enough insulin. I haven't been using insulin for months now. My blood sugar had been okay. They were a little bit worse after my 10 days fasting, which I was expecting the opposite, but it is what happened.
Hmm.
If you can find calf liver, the last time I had liver was calf liver. I bought it at a local supermarket. It was less strong. It says CV. Counts are still instead of grazing. It's almost liquid. Huh?
Hmm. So very tender, I guess.
Yeah. She stopped my weight loss in its tracks. Caused inflammation, so I quit cheese, but tolerate butter fine. Fine. A lot of people have problems with cheese. Sometimes problems they don't even admit because they eat too much. I did myself. I'm trying without cheese for a while. Um, there is cheese in the refrigerator because my wife's like it, the kids like it. My kids are 37, 33, and 29, by the way. But the middle one lives 5 minutes away. The other two live with me. So they eat cheese, but I've been staying off the cheese from the refrigerator. I'm able to moderate it to some extent, but never to eating just an ounce or two. Usually, if I have cheese, it's gonna be 3 or 4 ounces, and I'm trying without
Fish liver.
it. Well, you don't have to have it. You don't have to. Obviously, we don't like the same things, but uh, whenever I cook, I usually am the one who cooks a turkey or chicken, even. And usually, when you have the whole animal, the whole bird, you'll have liver and gizzards and heart. I love eating those. I always have. When I limited cheese and heavy cream, my weight stabilized. So it it becomes a problem to some people. They don't even realize
Mhm.
it. But sometimes, if you're stalling, definitely. If you're having problems, even though they're heavy cream, heavy whipping cream, and most cheeses are very low in carbohydrates, it may affect your blood sugars more than other foods is with the same amount of carbohydrate. So, um, I
Hmm.
wanted to ask you. You are part of a book club that sometimes
Yes,
I drop by. You're reading ketogenic.
ketogenic, and it's a complicated book, very sciency.
Well, it's meant to be a textbook
Hmm.
of the science of therapeutic carbohydrate restriction, and a lot of good information there. Though I don't know how much you pay for it, but I bought it like a month after it came out, and it cost me $150.
It wasn't quite that much when I bought it, but it was a little over 100 when I bought it. But it's I think the more that delve into it, and of course watching the various doctors, and like especially like Ben Bickman, Dr. Avadia, various ones, you Dr. Berry, of course. But the more you're exposed to all of this, the more that it sort of sinks in. It's just that constant exposure. And so then when I'm reading, like a lot of the words are, of course, big, complicated words. But then when you relate it into the whole process that your body follows and stuff, and then you recall things that you've heard others talk about, and it puts it all into perspective. So I just find it's helpful to just understand mechanisms behind, and it's a good discussion because people will join in and ask questions and comment and things like that. So it's just really, it's a good learning experience. And the book club is a little bit different because what we do is we actually read it as we go. It's not like we read ahead and then discuss what we read. We are actually reading it and then talking about it, and we'll look up words. I mean, we'll just go ahead and Google or chat GPT a term just to, okay, well, what is that? Because it is easy to kind of gloss over some of the words, and you just, but we do stop. So it's going to probably take us 10 years to work our way through this book, but it's okay.
Well, just where are you right now? What page? You're
We are on,
you make it to page 100 yet?
we're on page 118.
118. Okay.
Insulin resistance as central to the key features of metabolic syndrome. Page 118.
So when I became interested in carnivore 2.5 years ago, and well, I always knew about keto, not always, but for the past 33, 35 years, I've actually, after reading Dr. Atkins, I've used it myself personally. I always tell my diabetic patients those are the first things that need to go, particularly the high carb foods, and to restrict carbohydrates to get their blood sugars better. I used it myself personally to lose 40 pounds on multiple occasions. I have been through my life doing the yo-yo diet type of thing. But a couple of years ago, when I went back to doing strict carnivore and a strict keto first and then carnivore, I said, well, I got to find out more information. So I wanted more of the science. I went and got certified by a couple of organizations. One of the things I had to do was a class based on that book.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. I like beef, liver and chicken liver. I just don't like fish, so can do the cut liver. FX Trader
Oh,
says,
I've actually gotten that Braunschweiger. Yeah, I've gotten that. And liver cheese. I've gotten that too.
all right, let's see. We have a question here. By the way, few more minutes, we're going to do the drawing. And even though we have well over 100 people here, I only have 25, 28 entries for the beef liver. So put hashtag kiss. Okay. Although you didn't go carnivore to lose weight. No, she did not. If you can see that she does not have weight problem. Uh, I was lucky enough to meet her as well. She's much taller than me. Uh, the weight was not the main thing, but obviously many people go carnivore trying to lose weight. It is not specifically a weight loss diet, by the way, but that's what a lot of people see. So
And I did lose weight. I was before I started carnivore, I was roughly about 125 pounds at 5'9". So I was fairly slim, but I lost down to 115, which put my, BMI really low. And it was really funny because I had gone to my physical and they were concerned. I guess they thought I went vegan or something because I just was so thin. And so I did. That's one reason why I added a little bit of dairy, of the yogurt. So I'm roughly now around 120-ish.
okay.
I'm a little bit heavier than I was, but yeah, I had gotten down to 110 pounds, and I was too thin. Yeah.
How many times a day do you eat?
I eat generally twice a day. Sometimes I
Oh,
will eat breakfast, but usually twice a day. I'm just usually not hungry first thing in the morning. I've never been like a big breakfast eater to begin with. So, and when I was a kid, I actually used to eat like every other day. So I was kind of like intermittent fasting before it was cool, but like my mother would tell me that she would, like, especially when I was very young, she would try to get me to eat. And the doctor just said, that she'll eat when she's hungry. So, like, I would eat really well one day, and then the next day I wouldn't eat hardly anything. And then I would eat again a lot, and then not much of anything. And I've sort of been like that all my life. Like, I can just go without eating.
Katie's asking about body composition changes. Have you done any DEXA scans for body composition, or do you have a scale that
I do
measures?
have one of those scales, and I've never been I bought it with all the intentions of like documenting a bunch of stuff, but I've never really been like a big scale person. I never really have paid
So
any
you haven't
attention.
tracked your
So I
your
have not
composition.
tracked the body composition. I
You
do
can.
body weight exercises for the most part.
Uh-huh.
So like I'll do planks and squats and push-ups and things like that. I don't really I guess my most consistent exercise is walking, and my neighborhood has a lot of hills in it, so I do get a lot of heart pumping exercise from that, and I love hiking too. So I guess that's my main form of exercise is that.
Usually, the app that comes with those scales will keep information for at least a year. I think you can go back and review those things. Um, Target prime
Mhm.
rib. Tom says, I like sour cream with my pork or chicken. I sometimes use sour cream as a condiment, basically. But like I said, I stopped. Uh, so we'll see. Public sales. Peterson. bacon, which I assume is either uncured or sugar free. All right. So we're coming up to 1 hour at 7 o'clock. One more chance to do the hashtag kiss.
Mhm.
We're going to do a drawing. Let's see if we get that number to 40 at least. There's only 37 people who have put. Once you put it once, it only counts you once. But that means that only 37 people have put, or 38 now. I'll give you 10 seconds more to put hashtag kiss. Uh, her last name is Kissner. Her favorite band is Kiss. So,
Yes, perfect. Dawn is asking if cod liver oil is okay. I've heard
well,
that, and I don't know how true this is, but I've heard like that it can get rancid.
yeah, any fat, whether it's solid or liquid, can get rancid. So you have to, but you should be able to detect either the smell or the taste will give it away. I'm pretty good at detecting that. So, you know,
I think it depends like on the container that it comes in or something, but like the kind that's in the can with the cod livers, it's sealed up pretty
yeah, but
well. So,
you can have some of those things rancid as well because it depends on basically time. It depends on heat, by the way, as well. But
yeah.
with age, particularly the liquid oils can become rancid. Butter, lard, tallow will last a long time on your countertop, but they could also get rancid if they're after a certain time. So, all right, I'm gonna go for the draw. We did get to 40. We'll
We
see.
got 41.
Yeah, Terry Curdley.
Ah,
Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that correctly. Terry Curdley. Terry, if you can please email Alia at drkills.com. Dr. Kills spelled out DOCTORKILTZ. drkills.com. Alia at drkills.com. You need to email her your full name and mailing address so we can get it to you. And we're going to get to you a grass fed beef liver supplement bottle. Okay. All right.
right.
So, Carrie, where can we find you?
You can find me on YouTube at my meatomorphosis. Long word, but it's MEATO morphosis. So that's how you
My
spell it. It's not
metamorphosis.
A, it's not meat I, it's meatomorphosis. And I'm also on Instagram as well with at my metamorphosis, same tag. And so we do um, I guess we actually call it a keto study club
Uh-huh.
since it's not like a traditional book club. And I think we're going to actually resume the book club as well. We've done several books like Good Energy. Uh,
Yeah, you've also reviewed books and
mhm,
discussed them. This one you're actually reading together, basically,
mhm.
and discussing it as you're reading. And sometimes when I have a chance, I stop by and
You do, and you're always very helpful. You can translate some of that stuff for us.
all right.
So yeah, come join us. We usually do the book club on Tuesday nights. Once in a while, we have to move it to another night, but usually it's every Tuesday, and it's 6:30 Central Time. That's when
Now
we do it.
you are there with two nurses. So
Yes,
how's that interaction? Because what you do is not within their wheelhouse, and the book is a little bit more within their wheelhouse.
it is, and it's great to hear their real life experience as it relates to some of what we learn. And I know Lynn had been a gastro nurse, we'll just say.
Yes.
Um, so like she really can relate some of what is told about like the internal processes like with the liver and the intestines, and when we get into the discussion of how nutrients are absorbed and just all this stuff, she's really good. And then but both of them can relate what they do to what we're reading. So for me, I find some of the study data more interesting because I'm just really nerdy that way.
For
So we
those that
work
are
well together, I think.
for those that are interested in the science, that's a very good book. It is a, you know, I've seen it on sale, and a little bit 129 to 150 that I've seen it. I've also seen a version, it's like a PDF of the book. I don't know if it was legal or not, but for $20, uh, you can find it. By the way, I wanted to share, we're past the 7 a.m., but I wanted to share something one of our Kills Health member brought to our attention this weekend. And let me see if I can show this. Keto diet reveals a new way to starve deadly cancers. This is something that came out
Ooh,
just 5 days ago on April 30th. It was published.
well,
Interesting
well, well.
article. Uh, I think the science backing this way of eating is growing. And
I
anyways,
believe that too. And you know what? I had also, now I haven't read anything about it, but I had heard a blip about that they are reworking the nutritional guidelines and that they're going to be low carb. And I'm just like, oh, wow. So I don't
well,
know. Apparently, they're reviewing all of the science and everything now. And
I don't know if RFK is fully carnivore, but he endorses the carnivore diet. So
yep,
we'll see. We're hopeful, however.
cautiously optimistic.
Yes, yes. Anyways, it's 7:08. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Carrie, for being here.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
And you have a great day. Okay.
Everybody have a great day.
Bye bye.